Awesome. Thanks for having us. And AI is a very big topic, and you will hear that the next 30 minutes quite often, so I'm sorry already. When you these days scroll through LinkedIn, right? So you hear a lot of pros, a lot of cons. Some say it's a bubble and it will burst tomorrow. Some say it's the best thing on earth since sliced bread. Today we want to talk about the real cases, right? From real people, real companies that in the end are helping you to save some time, maybe make some more money, maybe automate something. And thanks. I'm not alone here. So today here is David and Ishan. Could you kindly introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name's David McFetridge. I'd like to say it's really a pleasure to be here and to see so many people interested in AI. I'm the marketing technology and CRM lead at Zenjob. For anybody who's not encountered Zenjob before, we are a platform connecting students with short-term working opportunities in 42 cities across Germany. I've been in the company about 4 years, coming up to 4 years now. For my MarTech hat, I'm responsible for things like tracking, attribution, automations, data integrations, and of course, AI integrations. And on the CRM side, I'm responsible for bulk communication with both our customer side and the student base, which we call talents.
Awesome.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Ishan Singh. My latest gig was I was the team lead for customer activation and CRM at Bunk, which is an online bank. I'm based in Amsterdam, and my work at Bunk focused towards customer onboarding, the first 90 days journey of the customer, making sure that they take exactly what actions we want them to take. And at the same time, from the CRM side, being responsible for sending out all communications from the brand, automating the process, making sure that they're as efficient as possible, using AI to the fullest. And that stint got over last month. I was on break this month, and I'll be joining Uber from next month. So quite excited about that. And that's about me.
Awesome. My name is Sven, and I'm doing growth marketing now for 10 years and helping publishers to reach their goals. We usually more money, more users as everyone. And Ishan, maybe starting with you, trying to break down this very mysterious big topic of AI. Maybe you can walk us through one implementation of your company, maybe from the very pain point of what you figured out there down to which set of tools you use, which AI maybe, and walk us through your product there.
Sure. All right. So I'll start with, I think, email automation as an example. So when we are all trying to send a marketing campaign, preferably emails or push notifications to our customers, the usual process is one of us thinks about it. This would be a cool new campaign. Then ideation would be there. We will write the brief. Then it'll be a copywriter or someone who will write the copies. Then we'll translate it into different languages. Then someone would set it up on the tool. They would do all the testing, and then we would launch it. At best, we would also do A/B testing with a few subject lines and copies and different graphics. That's typically across a company which is medium size or big. This entire process takes about 5 days a week or longer. So for me, this was a big pain point. And the use of AI was that we started introducing new agents to do each of these small steps. So we started off with, we have an idea for an audience. We would just run that idea using AI. We'll just brainstorm that, should we send this, should we send that? And then AI would see, based on the past 300 campaigns on which we have trained it, that does it make sense to use that kind of wording? Does it make sense to use that kind of topic for this audience segment or not? Well, this was still an experimental bit, but the next part where we're using AI was to write a copy. And all the blogs and all the emails which we had ever written, we trained AI on that. And then we made sure that it's using our brand voice, tone of voice, to write those exact emails. So writing emails became 90 seconds job, which used to be 1 or 2 days. And the copywriters who used to write those emails were now just proofreading once, which AI wrote, and just tweak them. And then finally, for A/B testing as well, once the copywriters approved it, then AI would just create 2-3 variants of it with different subject lines and different graphics. And then we would set it up and we would launch it. So I think the whole process came down from 5 to 7 days to just 1 day, maybe half a day at best. So the whole operational cycle became very efficient for us.
Nice.
So, yeah.
One question for you, and then David, you can shoot your project. How can you make sure that it is on brand? Because we saw that in the talk before, I think when you ask 3 times the same question, the output is 3 times different, right? So how can you feed in your brand guideline, brand book, or make a tone of voice for your brand?
Yeah, that's a great question. And initially, that would serve as a pain point because, yes, we can train AI as much as possible. So we try to negate that by training it on all of our communications and brand guidelines and tone of voice. But then still there will be results which will not adhere to what we want. That's where the copywriter's role came in, because then they would review it and they would give a feedback that, you know what, this is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to change this, all of that.
Yeah.
And then it's supposed to improve. So it took us about 6 months of trial and error and just pushing through and making it train, that it has now come up to, let's say, a 90% accuracy. But
nice.
It won't be 100% always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David, how about you? What is your maybe go-to project that you would love to share here when you implemented some AI workflow tool, sharing that with the audience?
I would talk a little bit about the first AI project that I worked on or implemented last year. So Zenjob as a company, we often get Google reviews, App Store reviews, and often these reviews coming from students are questions about the functionality of the app, problems they've had with use of the app. We actually have a help center, a detailed help center, which answers many of these questions. So previously, when one of these comments came in, a member of our talent operations team, that's essentially customer service, would read the review, go to the help center, find the appropriate article, go to Google Sheet where they had templates, fill in the gaps, like create the response to this review, and then post it back to the platform. Now that whole process takes, as you probably can guess, like 7 to 10 minutes, depending on how complicated the question is, if they've had that kind of question before, and so on. Now we get quite a few of these reviews on our platform, or on, I should say, external platforms. So this was one aspect where AI is kind of ideal, right? It's something which is a very consistent, very repeated task with strict guardrails in place, things like character limits and tone of voice and so on. So this was then the first project, as I said, that I really implemented. So with this, we have an AI agent that, well, first we actually have, I should say, a workflow automation, which is in a tool called Retool. I'm not sure if anyone's aware of Retool, but it's a platform for mostly creating front-end apps like low-code, but also has a workflow automation component. So we have the first step of this goes to the platform, be it Google, Apple App Store, so on, gets the reviews for that day, then feeds them into an AI agent, which outputs then a response to the review. The AI agent is trained on our help center data, so is able then to answer with like real proper examples. Then it outputs the response to a Slack app. One of our agents will then read it and approve it if it's matching the guidelines, or edit it if needs be, and then it gets sent back to the platform, back to Google or App Store as a response. Mm-hmm. So in the majority of cases, I think around 85% of the cases, we just approve it and it's fine. In those cases, of course, it takes seconds, whereas previously it would take 10 minutes or so. And in the case they need to edit, then they edit it. The edited response gets dropped into a database, and then we use that for training further responses. So it's kind of self-improving in the ideal case. It's kind of interesting though, because it's picked out a few inconsistencies in the data source, and that for me is one of the important points. The AI data, we hear a lot about like garbage in, garbage out. Yeah. That I'm not calling our help center garbage, but like basically,
no one is writing that on.
Yeah. Don't remember that part. Basically, it has highlighted inconsistencies in the data source, which then also helps us and helps our talent care agents then adapt the help center and improve that. So
Where would you say? I mean, it sounds like a very long chain process. Where do you make sure that maybe one agent is looking into the other agent? Where is the human in this process? Is there like a review step somewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. So any response that gets generated gets outputted to a Slack application, and that's where then our talent care agent will look at the response.
Yeah.
Read the response, check it matches, first of all, according to the review in the first place. Check it makes sense. I mean, also we've had this many times that the prompts are meant to be strict. The guardrails are there, but it still comes out with something completely random, which is just not the case. So of course, in those cases, we need the talent care agent will correct the response. And then feed it back in. But as I mentioned, like 85% roughly of those responses are good in the first place.
Nice, yeah. So I'm oftentimes tinkering around with some generative AI for ads creation. So maybe a quick one for the audience who's using anything like Nano Banana or creating imagery with AI. Show your hands quickly. Okay, a few. And from those who are showing hands, is it working for you? One. maybe. Okay, two. Yeah, okay, there. Okay, perfect. Awesome. This is also what my main use case was for that. Also trying a lot of things out with Nano Banana and all these other cool tools. But what you just said, the inconsistency is a big issue. And also what Ishan, your point was, so is it like on brand for clients, for brands, right? That really makes sense. So a lot of training, a lot of also garbage production in the end for that to really like get into that and see if it's kind of working. David, you were already pointing out the surprise that you saw in the output, and that the AI can also kind of show certain maybe loopholes or issues here and there. Ishan, maybe a question for you. When you saw that with your emails and automation, did you also saw some, surprising thing that the AI could figure out, saying, hey, cool, we didn't see that before. Cool, thank you, AI, for that.
Yeah, of course. I think that's happened a lot because when we are trying to solve a problem, we are so deep down into it that oftentimes we forget to take a step back, look at the bigger picture, seeing, okay, this is what we can do as well. So 9 times out of 10, that's usually operational. Like if you have 10 steps to launch a campaign from ideation, execution, documentation, testing, everything, it has just helped us reduce it to 4 or 5 steps because it's trying to be more efficient. And then we were like, okay, we can club these 3 steps for which we would need 3 different point of contacts or reach out to 3 different teams and then get it done as quickly as possible. Like, I'll give an example. We can write a copy, we can translate it in real time, and then we can write 3 different versions of it for 3 different audience spaces all at the same time. And usually it would be, the cycle would be, we would write a copy, the copywriter would see it, then the one who has requested it for their team, they would see it, they would say, okay, this is good. Can we do XYZ extra things on that copy? So the feedback cycle will go on and off between the team and the copywriter and the ones who are writing. And then finally, it will be sent to the translation team or the agency who is working for us to translate the copy. And then the version would be ready. So usually the back and forth is reduced, the time taken is reduced, and at the same time, we are generating more copies and more experiments for the same campaign. So it helps us become more efficient, test more things, and test things faster. So that was, I think, a big revelation for us.
It's super interesting. I think also for many people here. So to make your translations better, to make the process better, you already touched the base with human in the loop there, right? So maybe you can flesh that out a bit for the people here. How can you make sure that the response then seen by a human and then feeding that back into a database or solution or something that the next response might be better than?
Yeah, at times that doesn't happen, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's our expectation that, all right, it has generated this response. We went back and forth. We tried to improve it. But what after that happens is the responses started to degrade. Or we would have experienced this when we are generating images. We give them a prompt in the beginning. A version of image shows up. We don't like it. We give them more things, more data, more details. and then the version of the image just continues to decline and degrade. So that happens on and off. It is reduced, but it doesn't always give us the perfect answer, or it doesn't improve its answers as we give more prompts to it.
Yeah. David, maybe for you, when we zoom out of the very sometimes niche solutions, right? When we maybe also go back 5 years, in just your opinion, where do you think that maybe the biggest change on how teams work with AI or certain solutions, where's maybe the biggest change or the biggest win that you see maybe 5 years from now or today?
From 5 years ago to today?
Without AI, or the big majority of using AI, to maybe today, what was the biggest change there?
I mean, there's probably a couple of different things you can pick out. I mean, Ishan already mentioned creative testing, which of course is something which we can now do at scale. It previously would take a creative person, I don't know, I'm not a creative person, so I don't know how long it takes them, but would take them some time to produce a creative, whereas now it can be done in seconds. It also puts the campaign manager much more in touch with the end product in creative, right? Because previously there would be campaign manager would communicate to the creative person the brief, and then it's up to the creative person to implement it. Whereas now a campaign manager can brief directly or can prompt a tool directly to produce the creative and can tweak it how they like. And I think it gets the campaign manager, who should have a better idea about the customer base, more in touch with the creative process. Maybe one other point I would pick out is analytics, because I think previously, like when we go back before generative AI, large language models, if someone as a campaign manager who was not, should we say, data literate, they didn't know SQL, the only way for them to get in touch with, let's say, campaign analytics, the KPIs, would be to go to an analyst and say, please, run the query for me, get the data, which of course is time consuming. The analyst might have 100 tickets, 100, maybe it's a bit many, but you know what I mean? They will have a lot of tickets, and they prioritize, and then it might take a week or 2 weeks to get your data. Now we have tools like that we have within Zenjob, Secoda AI, where you don't have to be a technical person. You can go to the AI, you make a prompt, surface the data from this campaign for the last 2 weeks for this user base segment for this city, and it's going to get you the answer. So again, it puts the campaign manager much more close to the data than previously they would have been. Yeah. So I think those are probably the two things I would really pick out as the big change from 5 years ago to today.
Nice. Ishan, same for you. So when we zoom out of that, and where do you see the biggest shift or the biggest win maybe from 5 years ago, where AI wasn't that popular, to today?
Yeah, I'd like to take a different example this time. So I was working with a friend on his social media channel. He had just started a company for creating social media. 5 years ago, he had to invest a lot in doing the whole setup, like creating a recording studio with effects, with mic, with lighting, and then having editors on board, adding VFX. It used to take an army to push content on a daily level across 3 different social media channels. Cut to now, most of his time is spent on Ishan to train his AI avatar, and 11 Labs to make sure that his voice sounds as real as possible. And then it just takes one editor to stitch everything together and churn out video 3 times a day on everything which is going on in AI. And the kind of level at which he is able to process and push his content out is just fastened a lot. So he got scale his channel to 1 million subscribers in 6 months, which would easily take a couple of years, even at a Mr. Beast level, 5 years ago. So I think touch basing on different angles to create content at scale and make it as better as we can. I think that's where AI has made a vast amount of difference and came miles from where we used to be 5 years ago.
Nice, yeah. And also going to that one, what is the actually biggest win? I mean, you touched that already, right? So is it more like a win of time, or can you also translate that into revenues, or maybe both, obviously?
Ideally both.
Okay.
So of course, it reduced time drastically. It reduced expense because it became more accessible, faster. At the same time, it allowed us to experiment a lot, because when we are trying to think, would this topic be relatable enough for audience? Would this gain more virality? It would take time to think and experiment and then put it out and then observe and analyze. And then, as David said, analytics have also become super essential and super clear with AI.
Yeah.
So it all helped us do everything, and the result of that was higher revenue.
Yeah.
So time, experimentation, and production quality, everything became faster, and then in the end, the revenue went up. So it's correlated.
Nice. Yeah. David, would you also say it's more on the time base or also revenue, or both? Or what is the biggest win when you work with AI?
Yeah, I honestly would say time. Like, I'm not so sure like it's producing better content. I mean, I'm not, should we say, the biggest social media user, for example. So probably couldn't tell you what is the most effective creative, other than, just looking at the data itself. Like, we do quite a lot of AI-generated, user-generated content, right?
Yeah.
Like with a tool called Arcad. Also looking now at tools by Gemini. And from what I've seen, like generally the performance from an AI-generated UGC versus an actual human-generated is kind of similar, in terms of the engagement, the return on investment and so on. But I mean, of course, the big saver here is time, because previously you'd have to either wait for a user to generate the content or, push them to generate it. It might take ages. We know, like, anybody who's dealt with influencers know often, you tell them, you give them a brief and then they don't follow the brief. You have to get them to do it again. Yeah. They forget to include a QR code, or they forget to include tracking parameters. Yeah. And so it takes time. Whereas with with AI generated UGC, we can test things in moments. It takes like a minute to generate a video. Yeah. It's a big time saver, I would say. Yeah.
Yes. I think we got a few questions here from the audience here. Maybe we can pick one or two here. So the first one here is, how do you balance generated value versus infrastructure cost? I think that's an interesting one, because AI is eating terawatts of energy, right, these days, and also costs some time to run all of these models. And maybe Ishan, if you have an idea on that, how can you make sure that all these costs are not exploding and making sense in terms of value that it's generating?
Sure. So I think an efficient way of managing these costs, at least what I have seen, is to use one LLM or one service as much as possible, which is serving multiple purposes. For instance, just an API from OpenAI would not just serve how your data team is managing your data better, or how your backend team is accessing and making your infrastructure better. It's also serving the marketing or the business teams to train agents and come up with models which are writing copies and generating ad copies and creatives and everything. So using one service which can provide multiple AI solutions is probably one of the most efficient ways in which we are managing costs. But that's only at an enterprise level, where you are working for a company which is able to pay such a subscription to OpenAI or these big companies. If you're still a smaller business, a solopreneur, a freelancer, then you have to use a stack of tools to cater out to different purposes, like creating videos and writing copies and testing and researching and voice cloning, everything. But at the end of the day, it'll still be cheaper than the team which you had to create to serve all of these purposes, or the tools and instruments which you had to buy, the mics and the lights and the cameras of the world. So I think that's the way in which we're able to balance costs. And in the long term, if you'll consider 1 year down the line, it'll always be more efficient than traditional infrastructure setup. So that's how we become more efficient on this.
Maybe quick follow-up. Do you use like kind of pre-made and pre-trained solutions like OpenAI or Gemini, or do you kind of self-host these models like OpenLlama or these sort of things?
No, so we do use pre-trained solutions like Gemini or OpenAI, but then we have to customize it, and on top of it sit this on top of our database so that it learns and it becomes customized to us. So if I launch a campaign yesterday, the performance data and everything would be available on the LLM tomorrow or today. So real-time data is accessed by AI.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
David, do you use AI for videos?
Yes.
Yeah.
Short answer.
Maybe you could kind of flesh it out and talk a bit about that. That I don't know, your learnings or what was not working for you, and maybe a few tips here and there.
Yeah, I suppose like rolling back to the example I just gave, the UGC example, like it's effective for generating, you give it a script, you tell it exactly what you want it to say. However, when it comes to making like tweaks, small changes, you have to go back to the beginning again, generate again the video. And when you come to, I don't know, how do we put it? Like when you want to generate at scale, it's good. But when you really want to tweak and refine and get something down to a really like convincing, authentic, creative, then it becomes a bit more tricky, I think, to use. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much the same. Like I said, I was also tinkering around with many generative AI stuff. And I would love to say that it's very easy, but it's not. So usually I treat it as some sort of stock footage generator. So maybe make me this angle here, someone is jumping there, and then still need some sort of editing here to make sense of all that. Maybe scene 1, 2, 3, put it together, funny voiceover, and then you're good to go. But everything else is just very complicated to make it into one prompt.
Yeah, I suppose you also have to build that into almost infrastructure costs, right, or personnel costs. Like it's not saving you that much time if you're going to spend 6 hours tweaking with the output. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a third one here. So is web training Nano Banana or other tools for images now, or stick to stock photos? Switching to AI later, let everyone train it now. Very good question. Ishan, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, to an extent. So one of my learnings, which came from a lot of failures early on, was not to jump onto the next big tool immediately.
Yeah.
Because I'll give an example. In the past 3-4 days, we've been hearing the buzz. Gemini 3 is so good. It's better than ChatGPT 5.1. Nobody, it'll run it obsolete, etc. Tomorrow, Claude will launch something, day after Perplexity, and the day after ChatGPT again, and it'll still be competing. So the best AI tool is the one which is going to be launched next. So my learning was not to put all my eggs in one basket in the beginning. I would like the market to get a feel of it, us as a team member or enthusiast to get a feel of, is this tool better for me, the brand, everything which we're doing or not? Test it thoroughly, give it 2 or 3 months, and then start using it at an enterprise level is what my learning was. So I wouldn't fully rely on Nano Banana or any image generation tool for that instance to create videos. I would still have a Shutterstock or Adobe subscription to get stock videos as well. Because at the end of the day, see, we are here to make things more easy, personalized, and relevant for our customers. And if that's coming via an AI-generated image or that's coming via a stock image pool, it's all fine. But the kicker here is that there are companies now. I was at a conference day before, and there was a music library company. They only have human-generated, musician-generated content audio library. And they have used AI to personalize it to an extent that I was listening to a Coldplay song that sounds really nice. It'll be nice for my customers and audience as well, a similar song. So I'll go on that platform. I would paste the YouTube link of that Coldplay song, and it'll give me all the songs which could be similar to the Coldplay song in theme, in voice, in modulation, and they would give me a license for it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the answer is, it's not AI alone or stock images alone. It has to be best of both worlds to make sure that you're catering to your customers the best.
Sounds good. We could talk about that forever, I think. We have 1 minute left here on the counter. So 30 seconds for each of you. If it's maybe one workflow, one tool that you would give to these beautiful people here, what would it be? Maybe one recommendation, one tip.
I would say NAN. This is a tool which we implemented early this year. It's like, I would say, a more techie, customizable version of Zapier, which I'm sure probably everybody has heard of. For us, this is really now orchestrating a lot of the AI workflows that we have. So for me, that would definitely be NAN. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think to an extent, I'll just plus one to that. But at a larger level, N10, make.com, anything which is used to make agents at an enterprise level, because agents is something which has really transformed the way me and my team used to work and reduced months and days worth of work within seconds and hours. So yeah, N10 or make.com.
Awesome. I would also second that. So whatever it is, use it. Also, if you're down to that, learn some programming, learn some Python. I'm advocating for that for years. And yeah, thanks a lot for joining. So David, Ishan, and when you have some questions later on, talk to these guys here. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.